Exposed. How I turned betrayal into an inspiring victory in court after 12 heartwarming years too. In Maplewood, I built my dream. Cornerstone Cafe wasn't just a place to grab a cup of coffee. It was home, a community hub where laughter spilled out, mingling with the aroma of freshly baked pastries. I served the same loyal faces daily, greeting them with warm smiles, unaware of the storm brewing just behind my cheerful facade. Betrayal had crept into my life, taking the form of Rebecca, the best friend of my youth, now a powerful adversary. An unfathomable wave of deceit crashed over me when health violations were falsely reported, threatening to unravel everything I had worked for him. My heart sank as news spread through town like wildfire. Whispers in the streets felt like daggers. Panic gnawed at me, tightening my chest as I juggled the responsibilities of being a single mother to two bright-eyed kids, Mia and Jake. I had hoped Rebecca and I, bound by childhood dreams, would uplift each other as we grew. Now I found myself in a cage of confusion and heartbreak. Had those dreams turned to ash? The community rallied around me during those dark days, their love blossoming like spring flowers after a harsh winter. I remember the first bake sale neighbors lined up outside my cafe, holding plates of homemade goodies, their smiles saying, "We're here for you, Sarah." Tears welled in my eyes. Each cupcake, each loaf of bread was a lifeline thrown to me in my greatest moment of need. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the court date drew closer, the anticipation was unbearable. I felt like I was straddling the chasm between hope and despair. Sitting in the courtroom, surrounded by my friends, my facade crumbled. The weight of Rebecca's betrayal brought sleepless nights, as I wrestled with the urge for vengeance. But as witnesses shared their stories, I realized it wasn't just my battle. It was about all of us, the hardworking people of Maplewood, and the struggles we faced together. The air thickened with tension as I took the stand, every heartbeat echoing the gravity of my fight. But shock waves rippled through the courtroom when Rebecca was called to testify. Her eyes, once friendly, revealed insecurity. In that moment, I understood her actions were just a reflection of her pain. Did I want to tear down someone who had once been my closest ally? Or was forgiveness the key to healing? Everything hung in the balance, not just for me, but for the values we cherished as a community. As the judge prepared to deliver the verdict, I could feel every gaze on me, every breath held in anticipation. Would my cafe survive? What would this mean for Maplewood? I couldn't imagine a rift dividing us forever. The struggle for justice turned into a canvas of connection, resilience, and an undeniable longing for unity. My heart raced as I pondered my next steps, and just as the judge rose, I knew within me the next chapter of my journey was waiting to be written. The gavel slammed down, reverberating through the room like a thunderclap, drawing every ear to the judge's words. After careful consideration, the court finds time seemed to stretch, elongating every thought, every hope. I felt the room holding its breath, waiting to exhale with me. My friends, my community, their faces were a mix of hope and fear. Face after face blurred together, yet I could see individual expressions of support. They trusted that I would come out on the other side. In favor of the defendant, Sarah McKenzie. A wave of relief washed over me like a warm tide. Murmurs scattered through the space. Some gasps, some cheers, and even some soft cries of joy. I felt overwhelmed, emotions spilling over like coffee from an overflowing cup. Was this truly happening? Was I free? In that moment, I turned towards my friends, my family. Their faces were illuminated with happiness, their eyes glimmering. Mia and Jake rushed to my side, their tiny arms wrapping around my waist, holding me tightly. "You did it, Mom," Mia exclaimed, her voice trembling with excitement. I knelt down to their eye level, holding their small hands in mine. "No, we did it," I corrected softly. "This is our victory." My heart swelled. It felt as if we had just crossed a finish line together. But as the applause faded, the reality of what lay ahead settled in. I knew this victory was just the beginning of a long road to healing. Rebecca's betrayal still stung an ache in my heart that wouldn't vanish overnight. After the chaos settled, I stepped outside the courthouse, my heart racing with joy and anxiety. Outside, the sun shone bright, bathing the town in golden light, illuminating faces from my past and present. They gathered around, sharing their stories, their own struggles that felt magnified in the wake of my fight. It dawned on me that our stories were sewn together in a tapestry that spoke of resilience, hope, and community. As I inhaled, the scent of spring flowers filled the air. But beneath that, I caught a hint of uncertainty. Rebecca's actions had stirred the pot, and I understood that I couldn't just sweep this under the rug and pretend everything was fine. I had to confront the woman who once held my secrets and now threatened my dreams. Days turned into weeks. I returned to Cornerstone Café, where the laughter and conversation resumed, but the shadows of betrayal whispered in corners. I could see it in the eyes of my regulars. They too felt the tension, the ripple of mistrust. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low in the sky, painting the café in hues of orange and pink, I received a message from Rebecca. My hands trembled as I read her words. "Can we talk?" "I'm ready to explain." Memories of laughter, adventures, and sisterhood flooded my mind. The thought of meeting her made my stomach twist. Could I face her? Did I even want to? As I stared out at the bustling street, the world felt too small. I wondered what this meeting would reveal about Rebecca, about myself, and about the possibility of forgiveness. The future stretched out like an open road, uncertain but beckoning. What would I choose? Would I reach out for a bridge, or let the wounds remain wide open? The question weighed heavy on my heart. Could closure be born from confrontation? I took a deep breath, feeling both fear and curiosity. My journey was far from over, and I was about to step into the unknown. The following day dawned bright and clear, but there was a heaviness in my chest that the sunshine couldn't chase away. I paced my kitchen, my mind replaying Rebecca's words like a broken record. Can we talk? What was there to discuss? She had shattered our friendship, and now she wanted to plead her case? The kids played in the living room, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside me. I could hear their laughter, pure, sweet, untouched by the mess of adult complexities. I longed for their innocence and tried to put on a brave face. After all, I couldn't let them see me falter. "Mom, can we have pancakes today?" Mia chirped, her bright eyes full of hope that I forced a smile, giving her a quick nod. "Sure thing, kiddo." As I flipped the pancakes, something caught my eye through the window. A couple walking hand in hand, sharing quiet laughter. It stung like salt in a wound. I had once believed that Rebecca and I would grow old together, sharing secrets and stories through the years. Now the weight of betrayal felt like an anchor, dragging me deeper. After breakfast, I called a friend. "Jenny, can you meet me?" I asked, needing someone to talk through this conflict. "I'm on my way," she replied, her voice steady and reassuring. We met at our usual spot in the cafe, and as soon as she walked in, I felt a wave of comfort wash over me. Jenny settled in front of me, her expressions carefully crafted, as always. "You look worried," she said, concern etching itself on her face. "I am." I hesitated, stirring my coffee, letting the steam fog up my glasses. "Rebecca reached out. She wants to talk." Jenny leaned in closer, a frown forming. "Are you sure that's a good idea?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to scream at her, but what if she's truly sorry? Or what if she just wants to clear her conscience?" Jenny fired back, her tone sharp but caring. "Exactly. But what if I want closure? What if I need to know why she did this?" Each question felt like a bead of anxiety, sliding into my gut. Sometimes closure doesn't come from understanding, Sarah. Sometimes you have to find it in your own strength to move on. Her words sank in like stones in a pond, rippling through me. I couldn't sit in this pain forever. I needed to either face Rebecca or let her go, and it had to happen on my terms. After we finished our coffee, I made my decision. I texted Rebecca back. "When and where?" The response came quickly. "Tomorrow, at the park." "I promise I have things to say." My pulse quickened. Tomorrow felt too close. Would I regret my choice? As I walked home, each step mirrored my internal struggle. The park was a sacred space for the two of us, filled with laughter and joy. How had it come to this? Joggers zipped past. Children played on swings, blissfully unaware of the grown-up calamity waiting to unfold just off their horizon. I drew a deep breath. Could I forgive? Could I allow myself to heal? That night, as I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, I felt a flicker of determination rise within me. I wouldn't let her dictate the terms of my healing. I would go into this strong. I would stand my ground. But then another thought hit me. Could I truly be the bigger person? As my eyelids grew heavy, shadows danced across my thoughts. Tomorrow would be pivotal. It could either be a staircase to peace or a trapdoor to more heartache. I clutched the sheets tight, the decision looming over me like a storm cloud. What if the confrontation ignited something more? What if tears of rage turned into tears of understanding? I shut my eyes, desperate to find clarity in the chaos. Would I be brave enough to embrace whatever lay ahead? Would I find the strength within myself to turn the betrayal into something healing? Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough. The park buzzed with life, a stark contrast to the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside me. I arrived early, the warmth of the sun juxtaposed against the coolness of the fear gnawing at my insides. Children ran and played, their laughter ringing out like sweet music, but each joyful shout felt like a reminder of what I had lost. I spotted a bench under an oak tree, its strong branches reaching wide, offering shade from the overwhelming light. This was our bench, the very spot where Rebecca and I once shared secrets, dreams, and endless cups of coffee from oversized mugs. Now, it felt like a battlefield. As I listened to the distant sounds of a soccer game, I replayed my own thoughts. What did she want to say? Would it just be empty apologies? A part of me yearned for her to articulate that her betrayal was a product of deeper struggles that I hadn't understood. But another, larger part feared that nothing she said could undo the damage. I checked my watch, anxiety tightening around my chest. She was late. Just as I felt the flutter of panic building, I caught sight of her. Rebecca walked towards me, her expression a mixture of determination and trepidation. She looked different somehow, almost smaller in that moment. The woman who once stood beside me through thick and thin now appeared lonely and lost. "Hey," she said softly as she reached the bench. Her voice trembled, reminding me of the girl I once trusted with my heart. "Hey," I replied, forcing my lips into a smile that felt more like a grimace. We stood there for a moment, the weight of words unspoken hanging between us. I felt my heart racing as if it knew the significance of this moment. Was I prepared to listen? "Thanks for coming," she began, folding her hands nervously in front of her. "I know this is hard for us both." "Hard? That's putting it mildly," I replied, my tone sharper than I intended. She nodded, her eyes darting to the ground. "I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I need you to know that I never meant to hurt you. I was in a dark place, and I didn't see how my actions affected you." The words spilled out of her like an overflowing river. She spoke of her struggles, of feeling lost and overwhelmed, and how that had clouded her judgment. I shifted uncomfortably, trying to balance the desire to understand with the hurt I felt. Could she truly expect me to just forgive and forget so easily? "Rebecca, you shattered our friendship. It wasn't just a mistake. It felt like a betrayal," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, layered with the pain that had lodged itself in my throat. "I know, and I'm so sorry." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I'm not asking you to forget, but I'm here, and I'm ready to take responsibility. I miss you, Sarah." Her words hit me hard, like a wave crashing against the shore. In that moment, I could see her, the vulnerable, genuine heart beneath the mistakes. An emotion stirred deep within me. It wasn't quite forgiveness, but rather a flicker of hope that maybe this could lead to healing. Just then, a child's laughter broke through the thick atmosphere, drawing our attention. A boy raced by, his innocent joy momentarily lifting the somber clouds hanging overhead. It was a reminder of the beauty in connection, something I longed to reclaim. "What if we started slow?" I suggested tentatively, feeling an urge to give us both a chance. "How about we take baby steps?" Rebecca's face brightened like a candle igniting in the dark. "I would love that. I'll do whatever it takes." But below that spark of hope lay a question that I couldn't ignore. Could we really rebuild what had been lost? Or were we both destined to remain haunted by the shadow of betrayal? As we sat there in the park, the world bustling around us, I realized tomorrow might be brighter than today if I could just find the courage to embrace it. Could I truly open my heart again? The park was alive, filled with colors and sounds, yet the space between us felt infinitely fragile. I took a deep breath, letting the scent of blooming flowers ground me, attempting to center my swirling emotions. I wanted to believe in this moment, in the spark of hope that flickered between Rebecca and me. "Baby steps," I whispered again, allowing the words to sink into the air around us. Rebecca nodded, visibly relieved. "Yes, I'd like to start, if you're okay with it. Why don't we just hang out here more often?" I suggested, forcing the nervousness from my voice. "We could grab coffee, or go for a walk." Her eyes lit up, and I could almost see the gears turning in her mind, crafting plans for our tentative reconnection. "I'd love that. I've missed everything about us." I felt the rush of warmth climb to my cheeks. Could we really be back on the path to something resembling friendship? It seemed miraculous yet daunting, like a newborn fawn taking its first steps. With each passing minute, the heaviness in my chest started to lighten. Becca was still the same person in so many ways, warm, funny, and endearing, just as I remembered. But beneath that familiar exterior was a longing to heal, to mend the fractures we had created in our lives. "I've been thinking about all those late-night talks," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "You know, the ones where we lay on my couch for hours, dreaming about our futures?" "Yeah," I smiled, the memories washing over me. "I remember how we used to plot out our lives like they were chapters in a book. How did we go from that to this?" she asked, her brow furrowing slightly. "It's a long story," I replied, feeling the weight of those memories again, sadness threading through my veins. "I guess sometimes we just lose sight of where we were headed. It's unsettling. Can we find it again?" She looked me straight in the eyes, the raw honesty in her gaze settling deep within my heart. I hesitated. A part of me wanted to scream yes, to leap into the embrace of renewed trust and shared hopes. Yet another part held back, fearful that every step forward would only lead to more heartbreak. "Maybe," I said slowly, trying to gauge the reality of what she was suggesting. "It won't be easy, though. Trust is hard to rebuild." "I know," she acknowledged, her voice steady. "But I promise to try. I'm willing to earn it back." As the sun cast long golden rays through the leaves of the oak tree above, I caught a glimpse of movement beyond our serious conversation. A couple strolled past, laughing together, their fingers intertwined, a picture of connection, love, and trust. My heart tugged. Could we ever find that again? I leaned back on the bench, feeling the soft creak of the wood beneath me. A million thoughts and emotions whirled in my mind. I wanted to believe that fractured friendships could heal, that maybe redemption was possible. But was this just a fleeting moment, or a genuine turning point? "Let us take that walk sometime," I finally said, tentative but hopeful. One foot in front of the other, right? Rebecca's eyes shimmered, and for the first time since we'd begun this conversation, I felt the ghost of a smile break through my stormy thoughts. But even so, the underlying questions still clawed at me. Could we truly put the pieces back together, or was this moment just a pause before another wave of complications knocked us down again? As we sat in the midst of life thrumming all around, a part of me knew that this was only the beginning and the real test loomed ahead. Could we face what was broken together and forge something new from the shadows of our past? The uncertainty lingered, tantalizingly close, and yet forever a mystery waiting to unfold. The air around us felt electric as silence hung between us. I could sense Rebecca's uncertainty mirrored in my own heart. She reached out, her hand brushing against mine. A small gesture, but it sent warmth spreading through me. "Do you remember that time at the beach? We had those massive ice cream cones and ended up covered in sprinkles?" she asked, laughter bubbling in her voice. It cut through the tension, forcing a smile onto my face. "Of course. You ended up with more sprinkles on your face than in the cone," I chuckled, picturing her wide smile and bright eyes that day. "And I blamed it all on you." She giggled, her laughter ringing like music. It felt good. Good to remember a time before everything got tangled. But as quickly as the joy lifted my spirits, the heaviness returned. "Those memories feel so distant," I admitted, leaning back again, letting the bench support my weight. "Maybe we can make new ones," Rebecca suggested, the glimmer of hope returning to her gaze. "Just start fresh?" "Yeah, but what if we try and it doesn't work?" The question slipped through my lips unguarded. It hung between us like a ghost, a reminder of the fractures we had yet to mend. We can't know until we try, she said softly, squeezing my hand gently. We owe it to ourselves to try. We owe it to what we had. Her words struck a chord. My heart raced as I fought against the wave of vulnerability rising in me. The truth was, I wanted this. I wanted to reclaim what was lost. Yet, the fear of the unknown loomed larger than ever. I want you to know, if we do this, if we try, I'm all in, I said, staring straight into her eyes, searching for sincerity. But I need to know you are too. I'm here, she replied, her voice steady and honest. This is just as important to me. We both took a deep breath, letting that commitment settle around us like a comforting blanket. It felt risky, exposing ourselves to a new chapter, but maybe this was the step we needed to take. Let us start with that walk. No pressure, I suggested, feeling a tentative excitement bubbling. Just two friends out for a stroll. We'll see where it leads. Rebecca smiled, and in that moment, I realized her smile was now a shared sunbeam cutting through my guarded heart. Let us do it. Maybe we'll stumble upon the old us among the new memories. The spark of possibility ignited between us, like the flickering flame of a lantern on a dark night. But as we sat there planning our next steps, a thought gnawed at me, planting a seed of worry in my mind. I had a revelation brewing, one that could change everything. What if our past wasn't just behind us, but intertwined with the present in ways we hadn't even begun to comprehend? What if the shadows of who we were held keys to unlocking who we could be? The chatter of the park around us faded into the background, consumed by my spiraling thoughts. Could confronting the deeper wounds lead us to healing, or would it open up old scars we weren't ready to face? I looked at Rebecca, noticing the way her brow creased slightly, as if she were sensing my internal battle. There was so much we had to navigate. Was the past a burden or a bridge? Determined to explore this emotional maze together, I took a deep breath, ready to dive in. There is so much we haven't talked about. Her eyes widened, and the moment hung suspended, brimming with the weight of our looming conversation. What did the past hold, and how would we confront it? The path forward would be challenging, and as we began to pull at the threads of our shared history, I felt a mix of dread and anticipation spiraling within me. Would we emerge whole, or were we destined to unravel? Rebecca's expression shifted, the fleeting warmth of laughter snuffed out by a flicker of uncertainty. I watched as her mind turned, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavily in the air between us. What do you mean? She asked, her voice a blend of cautious curiosity and latent fear. That I hesitated, my heart thumping loudly, as if it were trying to break through my ribcage. There are things we never fully addressed. You know that, right? Like how we let life and misunderstandings carve us apart. We made choices, some good, some not so good. Her gaze bore into mine, searching for the truth hidden in my words. I could see the kaleidoscope of emotions swirling in her eyes: confusion, regret, but also a glimmer of hope. We were kids. We didn't know how to handle what happened, she finally said, her voice trembling slightly. No, we didn't, I agreed quietly. But we shouldn't just brush it all under the rug. I don't want to start over only to repeat the mistakes of the past. I don't either. There was a firmness in her tone that gave me the slightest lift. She paused, taking that deep breath that signaled she was about to reveal something important. Do you remember the fight we had before everything fell apart? How we just stopped talking? My heart clenched at the memory. I do. I thought it was something we could work through, a silly misunderstanding, but instead I trailed off, the memories of hurt and distance flooding back. It wasn't silly to me. I believed you didn't care, she admitted, her voice cracking. And that hurt more than I realized. I pushed you away because I didn't think I could trust you anymore. I felt my stomach drop. I never wanted you to feel that way. I thought leaving it alone would help. It didn't, she said, her eyes glistening. We lost each other in that silence. We both sat there, confronted by the ghosts of a friendship that splintered into pieces. The air felt thick, every breath shared, mingling with the history that twisted between us. That's why we need this, Rebecca finally said, squeezing my hand again. But it's more than just saying we want to try. We need to be honest with each other, tackle those fights head on. I watched her expression shift, a mix of agreeance and apprehension. I want that. I really do. But what if it gets worse? What if digging in too deep unearths things we can't move past? She challenged softly, her fears echoing mine. I exhaled slowly, feeling the heaviness weighed down on my shoulders. Then we face it together. That's the only way we'll know what we can salvage. Silence settled again, but this time, it felt a bit lighter. The prospect of confronting our past felt scary, yet liberating. The fear of what lay ahead was still there, but so was a sense of determination. "I'm ready," Rebecca said at last, her eyes bright with newfound resolve. "I want to start digging, no matter how painful it might be." "Then let us do it." I nodded, my heart racing at the thought of peeling back the layers of our shared history. Let us confront the truth together. We rose from the bench, hand in hand, stepping into the uncertain afternoon light. It felt like turning the first page of a book that could still be rewritten. As we walked, intertwined in shared courage, I realized that the conversation we were about to embark on held more than just the promise of healing. It was a gateway to rediscovery. But just as we stepped onto the path, I felt my phone buzz in my pocket. The sudden notification felt like a jolt, pulling me back to reality. I glanced at the screen, the name causing my heart to drop. It was Sarah, my ex, the last person I wanted to hear from at this moment. What could she possibly want now? As I opened the message, a cold knot formed in my stomach. The words on the screen threw us into turmoil. "We need to talk about what happened." Would this conversation put everything we built in jeopardy before we even had the chance to rebuild? I stood frozen, the world around me fading into a blur. Rebecca's grip tightened on my hand, sensing my sudden tension. I could feel her heart racing too, a simultaneous beat of anxiety thumping through both of us, as if we were connected by an invisible thread. "Who is it?" she asked, her voice soft but heavy with concern. "It's Sarah," I muttered, barely able to meet her gaze. The name felt like a dark cloud now hovering over our conversation. I could see the worry flicker across Rebecca's face, the very air between us charged with questions. The good mood we shared began to dim. "Do you need to answer it?" Rebecca's voice was steady, but I could hear the tremor just underneath. I hesitated, torn between the past that was clawing at me and the fragile connection we were trying to mend. "I don't know. It might not be what you think," I stammered, thoughts racing through my mind like a whirlwind. "Just be honest with me. Whatever's going on, let us face it together," she replied softly, giving me a gentle squeeze. That small gesture reignited a spark of confidence in me. Taking a breath, I hit the button and opened the message. A flood of memories crashed into my mind. The laughter, the love, the heartbreak. She had been my everything once, and now? Now she was my biggest ghost. I read the message again, each word weighing on my heart. "We need to talk about what happened. Could this really be a conversation worth having?" I glanced over at Rebecca, who was watching me intently, pain swirling in her blue-gray eyes. Suddenly, I felt her presence as an anchor. "I'm sorry. I didn't expect to hear from her. Everything feels complicated now," I admitted, the truth clawing its way out. Rebecca stepped closer, her eyes fierce and protective. "If you need to talk to her, go ahead. But promise me you'll come back to this discussion. We've just opened a big door, and I don't want to close it." Her words wrapped around me like a safety net. I nodded, understanding her unspoken plea, the desire to keep this fragile moment alive, even amidst the uncertainty. "I will. I promise." Gathering my resolve, I typed a quick reply. "What do you want to talk about?" I hit send and could almost feel Rebecca's breath steady beside me. Time ticked on, each second lengthened as we waited for her response. Finally, the notification pinged again. I braced myself, a fresh wave of anxiety rolling over me. "Can we meet? There are things I need to explain. It's important." "Great," I whispered, sarcasm dripping from my voice. I turned to Rebecca, whose concern mirrored my own dread. "I think I have to." A flicker of understanding crossed Rebecca's face, mixed with a plea for me to reconsider. "Just remember, you owe it to yourself to be honest with her. And with me. You need to figure this out cleanly, but don't lose sight of this moment." Her words lingered in the air, a reminder of the path I was on. As I looked at her, I realized I had to confront Sarah, but this didn't mean leaving Rebecca behind. I could lace the past with my present. "I should go," I said, but a part of me was hesitant. I didn't want to pull away from what was growing between us. Rebecca took a deep breath, frustration and empathy mingling on her face. "The last thing I want is to hold you back. Just be careful. We've come too far to let old wounds resurface carelessly." I nodded, feeling the weight of her words. They settled within me like an understanding what we were forging now held promise. But challenges loomed on the horizon. As I turned to leave, Rebecca called after me. You can do this. When you come back, we will face whatever we unearth together. You're not alone in this. I took a deep breath, finding comfort in her support. As I stepped away, doubt gnawed at me, but so did a determined spark. I was about to walk back into the storm of my past, but this time, I wouldn't do it alone. With each step away from Rebecca, I wondered, how would this conversation change everything? Would it help me untangle past mistakes, or just create more chaos in the already complicated web? And, more importantly, would I still find my way back to her, willing to embrace whatever fragile bond we rebuilt? The coffee shop was bustling as I arrived, the scent of freshly brewed coffee and baked goods enveloping me like an old friend. I scanned the room, searching for Sarah amidst the laughter and chatter, my heart pounding with each beat. The soft clinking of cups was a backdrop to my anxiety, a reminder of the years that had slipped away since we last met. There she was, sitting in a corner, the same sullen expression on her face that I had known all too well. I took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage before I approached her table. Sarah looked up as I approached, her eyes filled with a mixture of surprise and uncertainty. Hey, I said, forcing a smile that felt as fragile as glass. Hi, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. We both knew the elephant in the room, but either of us was brave enough to acknowledge it. Thanks for agreeing to meet, I continued, taking a seat across from her. My stomach twisted in knots as memories of our past bubbled up, our laughter, our arguments, the bitter ending that still haunted me. I didn't think you'd respond, Sarah admitted, shifting uncomfortably in her seat. I didn't expect to hear from you after, well, everything. I nodded, the weight of those words hanging heavily between us. Things have changed. I've changed and, honestly, I'm trying to understand what happened back then. Sarah's gaze dropped to her coffee, and for a moment, silence enveloped us. I noticed the way her fingers played with the cup, just like old times. There was a spark of familiarity that ignited within me, but it was quickly extinguished by the fear of what this meeting could dredge up. You're with Rebecca now? She asked, her tone clipped. Yeah, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. She is important to me, but I felt like I owed it to us to hear you out. Her face softened slightly at my words, but something in her eyes flickered a hint of regret, maybe, or pain. I never wanted to hurt you. I was scared. Scared of what? The question slipped out before I could filter it, and I felt a pang of anger. But mostly, I felt empathy. We had both been scared. Of losing you. Of not being enough of the future, she admitted, the facade of indifference slowly crumbling. But I should have fought for you. Instead, I ran. Her confession cut deep, echoing a truth I had buried myself. I had wanted her to fight. I had wanted her to choose me. But now, sitting across from her, the girl I once loved felt like a ghost, a part of another life. Why now? Why reach out? I asked, trying to make sense of the whirlwind we were caught in. Sarah hesitated, biting her lip. Because I need you to know I'm sorry. I've been trying to make sense of everything, and I realized I missed our friendship. I missed you. A lump formed in my throat. I had missed her too, in a way I never truly acknowledged until now. But admitting that felt dangerous. The walls I had built around my heart were strong, but they wavered under the weight of nostalgia and regret. Sorry doesn't erase the past, Sarah. I know, she said, her voice trembling slightly. But I want to be honest. I need you to understand what I went through back then. It might not change things, but I owe you that. As she spoke, a flicker of hope ignited in my chest. Perhaps this conversation could be more than just revisiting old wounds. Maybe it could lead to closure or even a new beginning, not as lovers, but as friends. But just as I was about to respond, the door swung open, and a chilling breeze swept through the cafe. My heart dropped as Rebecca entered, her eyes locking on me and then darting to Sarah with an expression that said it all: confusion, hurt, and a hint of betrayal. Oh, I thought, panic setting in. I was standing on shaky ground, and the last thing I wanted was to fracture what I had with Rebecca again. How would I explain this to her? Would she understand? Or had I just stepped into a trap of my own making? I took a deep breath, prepared to bridge the gap between the past and the present, knowing that whatever happened next could change everything. Would I be able to bring Rebecca into this tangled history, or would it tear us apart? The tension in the cafe shifted dramatically with Rebecca's entrance. I could feel the temperature drop like a sudden winter chill. Every heartbeat thundered in my ears as I tried to gauge Rebecca's expression. Would she explode? Or would she remain composed? "Hey," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. The surprise in her tone was evident, and I could see the flicker of confusion dance across her face. "Sarah," Rebecca replied, her eyes narrowing slightly as she assessed the situation. "I didn't expect to see you here. We were just catching up," I said hastily, the words spilling out before I could think better of it. Neither woman seemed reassured. The air thickened with unspoken words, the remnants of our complicated past hanging heavily over us. Rebecca crossed her arms, her gaze sharp. "Catching up? After everything that happened?" "Rebecca, please," I pleaded, desperate to smooth the situation. "This isn't what it looks like. We're here to talk. Talk. Or reminisce about old times while ignoring the pain you both caused." Her voice raised slightly, drawing the attention of nearby patrons. The scrutiny of the crowd only amplified the intensity of the moment. Anxiety twisted in my gut, making it hard to breathe. I felt both women looking to me for answers when all I had were questions swirling in my head. "Rebecca, I know this looks complicated," I began, but she cut me off, her voice firm and unwavering. "Complicated? That's an understatement. You didn't even tell me you were meeting her." Anger ignited in Rebecca's eyes, a fire I hadn't seen in her before. It startled me, bringing to light the depth of what was between us. "I thought you understood this is about more than just me and Sarah," I shot back, frustration spilling over. "I need closure. I owe it to myself to hear her out." Sarah watched us, her face a mix of longing and remorse. "I didn't want this to become a confrontation," she said softly. "I truly am sorry for everything." For a moment, I could see the girl I once loved in Sarah, the one who shared my laughter and dreams. But then I turned back to Rebecca, desperately searching for a way to salvage what was left among all this turmoil. "Look, I know this is messy," I said, my voice steadying. "But this moment isn't just about her or you. It's about figuring out how we can move forward, together." "Together?" Rebecca echoed. She shook her head, torn between her anger and the flicker of hope I dared to offer. "You have to choose your battles, Sarah. If you want to dig into the past, are you prepared for the consequences?" I stepped closer to Rebecca, my heart racing. "I want us, Rebecca. We've fought too hard to let this slip away. But I can't ignore this part of my life. I can't ignore what I need from Sarah. Can you be trusted?" Rebecca shot back, her vulnerability momentarily masked by the cavern of hurt. "That's what scares me." Those words cut deep. I felt a rush of regret wash over me, and the room spun with revelations. The past had shaped us, yes, but I wanted to believe we could step beyond it. "I need to find that out for myself too," I admitted, turning to Sarah. "I want to listen. I want to heal not only for me, but for us." Sarah nodded, a flicker of hope lighting her eyes. "I don't expect forgiveness right now," she said, her voice trembling. "I just want to share my truth, how my fears and insecurities led me down that dark path, how I drove us apart without understanding." "Then let us talk," I urged, looking back at Rebecca. "But I need you to stay with me, please." Her brow furrowed, as if weighing every option, every emotion. Finally, she exhaled, the anger fading slightly. "I'll be here, but you both need to commit to this fully. No more running." "Agreed," I said firmly, feeling the weight of the moment settle over us. This was a mess, but it was our mess, each thread woven together in a complex tapestry we had to untangle as we settled into the uneasy truce. I braced myself for the hard truths that lay ahead. Would this meeting heal or rupture us further? The stakes were high, but I found comfort in knowing that honesty was our only path forward. The cafe's warmth enveloped us, all eyes darting away as we started speaking, and for the first time, I felt the fragile thread between us woven of friendship, regret, and the possibility of healing glimmer softly in the air. With each word spoken, I hoped to build bridges over the troubled waters that separated us. Yes, it was a risk. Yes, it would take time. But something told me, with the right will to heal, we could transform this struggle into our greatest victory. Letting the words flow, I held Rebecca's hand tightly, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, together. This was not the end, it was the start of something new, something beautiful, a triumph over our past. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support truly matters. Comment below and share your own feelings about this ending. What does it mean to you? And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, we can learn to conquer everything life throws our way.